All right, welcome back to the Daily Mastermind. George Wright III with your daily dose of inspiration, motivation, and education. I'm really excited about this little series we're doing right now. I think if you listened to the podcast yesterday, you heard that we are going to be launching a new podcast series called The Authority Is Podcast. We're doing that in conjunction with Valiant CEO Magazine, and we're doing this out of demand, to be honest with you, the demand for individuals that are trying to establish authority and grow their business. It's so dang loud and crazy in the marketplace. It's hard to get seen. And so what we're doing for the next, I don't know, 7 to 10 days, depending on how I feel, we're going to highlight some of the top 10 covers and key featured articles that we've had in Valiant CEO Magazine last year. And so, yesterday we had an amazing interview where we talked about Kevin Harrington and branding. And we've got a bunch of other stuff, a lot of business related featured articles. But the one I want to talk to you about today is Kaycee Feild. And the reason I want to do this, we're going to be jumping into this incredible journey of Kaycee Feild, who's one of the greatest bareback riders in rodeo history, 6-time world champion, because he's got a lot of lessons that you can learn. And I think you've heard me say more and more that success leaves clues. And the way a world champion thinks is going to extend, and I'll show you why, to business, to life, to relationships, communication, and everything. So before I do, if this is your first time listening, make sure you hit that like and subscribe. My name is George Wright III. I'm your host, and my goal is to give you that daily dose of inspiration, motivation, and education that'll help you to create your best life. So today, let's get right into it. We're going to be talking about just overall success secrets, success principles, and habits. What happens, for example, when a rodeo legend retires? Well, Kaycee's transitioned into entrepreneurship and running multiple businesses like CBD and payment cowboys and cowboy hats and fulfillment. Like, he's got all kinds of stuff he's done. But we're going to talk about what drove his success, the lessons he learned from rodeo that apply to business, and what success truly means to him. Remember, I talk a lot about the key to success, in my opinion, and what I've learned from my mentors, is finding ways to live inside your unique talent. And Kaycee, absolutely has that talent. I asked him, and we asked him in our Valiant CEO interview, did you always want to become a cowboy, or was it something that you just got led to? And so just to give you a little bit of his background, he was born and raised in Utah, grew up surrounded by rodeo. His father, Lewis, was a 5-time world champion cowboy, and rodeo was part really of his family. But as early as 12 or 13 years old, he decided that bareback riding was his dream. So he wrote his goals down and committed himself to doing it. In fact, he had said, nothing else mattered to me, not school, jobs, or anything else. They were just distractions. And that's the first lesson I want you to realize and listen to. And that relentless focus paid off for him. He became a 6-time world champion, and now he's bringing those skills into the business world. So we also asked him, who was your most important professional, or who has been your most important, professional mentor or aspiration? And he said, he's been surrounded by a lot of hardworking people, but his biggest inspiration, he would say, is his brother, Shadrach. And here's the thing. I wanted to just kind of mention this. Being surrounded by successful, positive, hardworking people is the lesson here. His brother is his business partner, and he's overcome a lot of challenges in his life, and he remains a real strong mentor and role model for him. But it's so important that you surround yourself with the right people. Kaycee said, I admire him for his life experience. They're talking about his brother, right? And how he's overcome obstacles and continues to be a successful mentor to me. So it's very important that, a lot of times we let our environment and the people around us really, whether we're consciously or subconsciously doing it, affect us. So why not choose to be proactive and surround yourself with the right people? So I really love that it's family as well. That's really important to Kaycee. So as he transitioned, I wanted to kind of talk to him about, and we'll have him on the show here as well, in addition to this featured article, but we wanted to talk to him about his journey, right, from rodeo to entrepreneurship. And how did he go from this journey of being chasing a dream and becoming a world champion to becoming a very successful entrepreneur now? And this is kind of what he said. He said he always wanted to be his own boss, even as a kid. His rodeo journey started with his, being kind of in his father's shadow, but he was really determined to carve his own path. And the challenges of rodeo, which we'll have to get into in another episode, everything from injuries and travel and mental and physical toughness, that is all what shaped his mindset that he now uses in business. So some of you have had a lot of life challenges and situations, and rather than look at them as things that happen to you, you need to learn to look at them as things that happen for you. Because, Kaycee mentions, even though his resume helps him, being a world champion helps him, it's the experiences that he gained from rodeo that make him who he is today and why he's successful in the business world. And he's got multiple businesses. Let me tell you, he's crushing it on all fronts. But, we talked a little bit about what challenges he faces in business because they're different, right? They're a little bit different. And he talked about everything from regulations in his CBD business and, high risk type businesses to adapting to new industries in the payment services space and what it took to learn and be resilient. But what he really emphasized is that it was the habits and the experience he had in that field of rodeo that helped him in business. And so many of you need to go back and realize that, if a life is worth living, it's worth evaluating. And the lessons you learn are what help you. Now, I really liked Kaycee's response in our featured article because he mentioned a couple other things. He said, what I used in the rodeo business is what I use in business today, like handshake deals, eye contact, and mutual respect. They're all the same principles that he applies today in business. And I think those are principles that you can use as well. Making eye contact, handshake deals, being a man of your or woman of your word, and having respect and integrity. Those are all things that he's well known for. And I believe most successful business individuals as well. So the transition that we made in this interview, in this conversation, that I thought was also important to note, and it comes back to, what does success mean to you? And I've mentioned that before, because whether you value success as a monetary thing or a lifestyle or relationships or whatever it is, you've got to decide what success means to you. And success isn't just about the money and fame, it's about your quality of life. And Kaycee said, when I think about what it means to be successful, I picture being there for my kids as much as possible, being a good role model for them and giving them all the support they need. And he also believes in helping other people and giving back as a huge part of success. He said, time is something we never get back. Donating money is great, but your time is even more valuable. So I love that answer, but I think I want to use that as a jumping point for you to ask yourself, what does success mean? What does it mean to you? Because it's not just about the short term. And remember, it isn't things that we're trying to get in life. It's the emotions those things create for us. Just like Kaycee said, it's not just about the money. It's about his kids and his family and support and giving back. Well, those create emotions of impact and purpose. And I think a lot of people that have been very successful have had that same answer, because they've realized that over time, life is about giving back. Life is about having fulfillment. So I really think that's something you ought to think about as well. And that was great advice that Kaycee gave. Now, I asked him more specifically, what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs or cowboys or future leaders, anybody in general? And he said, be resilient and find a routine. Get into it and don't have any distractions. I really love that answer, because resilience is a major thing that you need. You got to fail often in business and in life, but finding a routine, I love how he tied it to that, right? Be resilient, but find a routine and don't let anything distract you. Set those daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, lifetime goals, but stay focused. And I think that was a very, very strong bit of advice that you can all listen to. So our last, and this is kind of an interesting note, our last question in our feature with him was, if you wrote a book about your life today, what would it focus on? And this goes straight to this concept and idea I keep talking about of what's the story of your life? Because let's be honest, you are the author, the main character, the villain, the hero. You are every part of that in your life, and you do have the ability to write your own book of life. But have you ever asked yourself that question? If you wrote a book about your life, what would it focus on? Well, I'll tell you what Kaycee's response was. He said it would depend on on which generation or decade of his life the book focused on, but he felt proud when his father passed away because all of the positive things people said about him. So he said, I hope that when I pass away, if there's a book written about me, it'll focus on things that I hold dear, finding happiness, bringing people together, working towards a common goal. And that's the legacy that Kaycee wants to leave. And so I would ask you, what is the legacy you want to leave? What is it that you do on a day-to-day basis? What is your life about? What is your story about? And just know this, that you can write that. You can decide what that is. You can decide what you're going to focus on to make impact in the world and what you're going to do to leave as a legacy for your life. So that's the message I wanted to leave you with today. I hope it's something that inspires you, because going from a world champion, rodeo bareback rider, to a world champion business entrepreneur, I think Kaycee's got a ton of great advice for all of you that are listening to this podcast. And so I hope you'll take it to heart. Do me a favor, share this show. You're going to see a lot of really cool things come out over the next little while. I look forward to helping you. And if there's anything I can do for you, certainly hit me up on the Daily Mastermind on Facebook, Instagram, or check our show notes and you'll have all my contact details. And once again, my name is George Wright III, and this has been the Daily Mastermind. Have a great day.